Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about seniors and promotions. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, my company has senior software developers who have barely 3 to 4 years of total work experience. I have a solid 7+ years, and they are giving me really ridiculous reasons and excuses to not promote me to a senior developer. Should I stay in this company? How can you have more than twice the experience of these so-called seniors and not be at their level? Because like the only explanation I could possibly imagine to this is that either you really suck at coding, or you have like the weirdest company structure I've ever seen. Because usually the way it works is that when your manager is hiring you, they will look at your years of experience. This is one of the main reasons why they look at your experience. And then they try to gauge through the interviewing process about what level should we put you at. And then they set your salary, which is the thing that a lot of novice programmers and people who don't really understand anything pay the most attention to, accordingly. So if you have a lot of years and you can sort of reflect that somehow in your work, well, then we're going to pay you a lot of money. And the idiot programmers, they stop there and they forget the other part, which is that now, if we're going to pay you that, we're going to set some expectations, because we don't know if you actually are worth the salary that we're paying you. So when you get into the company, you're going to get fired if you can't meet those requirements. So to me, it's that is like the only explanation that I have to this. If you have people who've been working for half the time that you have been working, and they are seniors, or like they are considered to be seniors in your company, we can discuss that term if you want, but that's what your company calls them, and you have more than twice their experience and you're not getting there, well, either there's a personal beef with you, or it could also be that they are a problem. Because one thing that is really, really problematic for a manager, and it's very inconvenient when this happens. If you have a high performer in your company and you have other developers, it's really tough. I mean, if you reversed if you made the reverse happen here, let's say that they had 7 years and you didn't, but you perform at a higher level than they do, your manager is going to have another problem. And that problem is going to be, can I actually say openly that I'm going to pay you? Or that's why we try to keep this secret, right? Because if I am going to pay you as much as someone who has twice your experience, or in some cases more, I'm gonna have to be sure that they're okay with that, because they might get really upset if it turns out, because it's a stain on your reputation. Someone's better than you. Who knew, right? That sucks. Nobody wants that to happen. Uh, but for you, I mean, really, I think that you should have a think first and foremost, and realize that even if you have 7 years of work experience, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are entitled to a higher compensation, because you might simply not be good enough. That is one way. But if without knowing more specific the reasons as to why you're not getting promoted, the other thing is also very possible that the company itself feels uncomfortable about promoting you. It can be even social issues. I mean, I've seen developers who have had problems getting higher up the chain, not because they don't have the skills, but because it's politically inconvenient to put them at a higher salary or at a higher role, simply because either they are not a good culture fit, or they have attitude problems, or stuff like that. And at the end of the day, what your management team is trying to do is to, most of the time at the very least, create a work environment that works as optimally as possible. And if you, regardless of if you're a master coder, or if you can be the best coder in the world, if you don't fit the bill for what they need at a higher level, it's going to be inconvenient. Now, if in this case you're not trying to become a manager, as far as I know, but you're trying to get up to a senior level experience. So, like, without any more information to go on, I really suspect that either you are not as good at this thing that you think that you are, or the other developers have there's a political problem here. That's the only other option that I can consider. I mean, one thing could be that you have 7 years of work experience in the industry, and sure, that's great, but you don't actually know the system all that well. You don't have the domain experience, and perhaps in this specific company they value that more, or they might have a really, really shitty hiring model where they say things such as, I don't know, well, even if you have this amount of experience in like other companies or within the industry, we can't actually promote you until you have shown this and that commitment. I've seen some companies where they literally do that sort of thing, where the process of management is more important than the value of the individual, where they will not they will give you a base salary, and then they will give you the opportunity to improve your salary over time by doing very specific things. And it doesn't really matter how good you are, or how like it's a model that is not based on performance. It's usually just based on time investment or something like that. That is not really quality, it's more about quantity. And that's also something that could be going on here. But if you have more than twice that, you should by just default be at a higher level than your coworkers. So I can't really explain that, honestly. So what I want you to take away from this is that just because you have more than twice or 3 times or 4 times the experience of your coworkers, that doesn't actually mean that you're more valuable to the company. If your coworkers are better software developers than you, they're better than you. And even though that might suck to admit to yourself, that is a very real thing that can happen. And if your company doesn't see the results from you, you can only move. You can only change. Like, either you have to start to try to understand what the company that you're working at, like, what do they value, what do they care about, what are they paying attention to. Because even if you have, like, you're the best unit tester in the world, but you can't meet the deadlines, well, nobody cares about your unit testing if the thing that they look at are speedy results. We can talk about what's going to happen, and we can talk about how stupid that is for any company, but the problem is that, just as with customers, you cannot if your customer cannot understand the value in the thing that you're selling, they're not going to buy it. It doesn't matter if you're what you're selling. They have to understand and appreciate the value in the thing that you do. And that might be exactly where you are. You might be the most experienced person there, but your company doesn't, they're not able to evaluate you accurately, and so they don't promote you. Another thing that could be going on is that there are office politics that you are not aware of. There might be jealousy, resentment, or it might be that they have a really weird management model where they don't value experience in that way. I don't know. All I can tell you is that if you feel like they're giving you bullshit answers, try to ask them, okay, what do I actually have to do in order to move up? And if you feel that they can't give you a very straight answer to, okay, what are the exact steps that I need to do to get to this level, then quit. Because if they can't give you a roadmap for how to achieve the goal, don't deal with this bullshit. Move on. Have a great day.